Trauma touches all of us. It's like ripples in a pond. That means even if you haven't directly experienced trauma yourself, it reaches you in some way. Now, I know how many people directly experience trauma. So I know that you either know or work with people who've had those direct experiences with trauma. As helping professionals, we definitely are working with people who've experienced trauma, whether they disclose that trauma to us or not. And the more that we see it, and the more that we hear about it, the more it reaches us. And there's a name for it. It's called vicarious trauma. We can pretend it doesn't get to us, but the truth is the longer we avoid and ignore it, the bigger it gets. I know I'm a helping professional too. We tend to help ourselves last, but we simply can't do this if we want to be able to continue helping other people. We've got to take care of ourselves. Hi, I'm Meghan Kearney. I'm a psychologist, a coach, and founder of The Empowered Hero. The Empowered Hero gives helping professionals like lawyers, nurses, doctors, and mental health professionals the tools that they need to be able to actually make changes in their lives so you can help yourself and continue helping other people, so you can have the energy you want, so you can enjoy your relationships, and so you can believe in yourself instead of drowning in your work helping other people. I thought trauma wasn't getting to me, which is silly when I think about it, because I've been working with trauma for over 10 years now. Of course, at some point it was going to get to me, but it didn't hit me until my partner and I were both doing different types of work related to domestic violence and contentious divorces. I was pretty miserable, and I'm sure he would agree. It was a year in before I finally reassessed and said, I can't keep doing this. I actually felt like I had no choice but to quit. And when I stopped doing that work and it healed, it was so much easier to look back and say, oh yeah, that was vicarious trauma. Of course it was. I don't want you to make that mistake of wasting a year or even more not realizing that it's vicarious trauma that has you feeling so awful and not dealing with it. Now, I'm sure because I quit doing that particular type of work, you're thinking I'm going to tell you to quit too. I get it. But that is not my goal at all. And ultimately, I didn't even stop doing trauma work. I still do trauma therapy and evaluations. I actually want more helping professionals working more with trauma and doing a really great job at it. And I know that none of us can do a really great job at it unless we're taking care of ourselves. I want you to be able to take care of yourself so you can do this work and face the trauma without sacrificing your health or your relationships or even ending up forcing you to quit. I want to give you an overview of 7 steps that I used myself and that are backed by science and evidence for how we get back in control of our life so that trauma isn't controlling us. The first thing that we need to do is get real about where we stand. We've got to know our own status and just sort of take stock of where we are. That means figuring out the real problems. Is it vicarious trauma? And what other problem areas that might be causing in our lives? And looking at the positives too, our strengths and our values, so we can see what's all out of alignment and get a clear direction for where we want to go. It's really easy as critical thinkers to identify all the negative and all the bad, but we've got to take that extra step of evaluating the positive and the good things as well, or we're going to be bogged down before we even get started. The second thing we do, and this might be the hardest for some of you, is we've really got to kick our guilt to the side. That means we need to accept where we are, and we need to actually put ourselves first so that we can help other people and so we can show them what's possible. I know it's not an easy thing to ask if you're the helping professional who's always putting everyone else first. But we can't just talk the talk to people we're trying to help. We've got to walk the walk too. That's why I'm walking the walk. I want you to see that this is possible. Once you kick that guilt to the side, the third thing, which is where it starts getting a little bit more exciting for you, is where we build up our superpowers as heroes. We're prioritizing taking care of ourselves and finding the ways that work for us to feel rested and inspired instead of drained, and actually doing those things. It means figuring out how we're going to stay on track with those values that we identified. It means creating good boundaries for ourselves, finding healthy routines, learning what helps us rest, recharge, and even discharge some of that negative energy, and cultivate a healing practice of empathy. As we're doing that, we're gonna find that there are traps. So the next step is figuring out how to escape those traps. The traps really are just unhelpful patterns in the way that we think or the way that we act that are keeping us stuck. And once we identify what those patterns are, we can discover where those things are coming from and ask ourselves the right questions to help us change what we're thinking and what we're doing. When we've gotten this far, we've got the opportunity to really level up those hero powers. And we can level up by reconnecting why we do what we do and finding our energy in our values and in the meaning of the work that we do and in the positive and all of the wins. And some of that even means that we're figuring out those things that are most important for us to get really good at and mastering those things. I'm not saying you have to be perfect at everything, but we do know that being really good at something helps our confidence and helps us have energy. I've been talking a lot about just you, but your team is important too. Yes, a lot of the hero stories, movies, whatever, are based on one hero. But the biggest battles are not won without a team. And the heroes that I would say are the healthiest have a good team around them. So we need to be enriching our relationships too. We need to acknowledge that because trauma does touch everything, it ripples out. What's impacting you is also impacting the people around you. So we've got to assess our relationships, reconnect to the people that we care about. And if we haven't yet, Set some boundaries with the people who really drain us. The last piece of this puzzle is having a plan so it doesn't happen again. When you go through those 6 steps, you're gonna discover the things that work for you, the things that don't work for you, and the changes that you want and maybe need to make in your life. So we wrap that all up in a plan of being intentional about taking care of ourselves so that we don't get caught up in this again, so that we don't end up feeling like we have to quit again. Whether that's using your calendar with intention or having another plan for yourself for how you're going to regularly evaluate where you stand on vicarious trauma and consistently engage in those self-care activities and have that intentional relationship time. All of those elements are important. I hope these 7 steps have helped you or given you some inspiration for some things that you want to do moving forward so that you can be an empowered hero. If you're interested in this, I'd love for you to come join my Facebook group. It's Facebook.com/The Empowered Hero.